Hey, what's up, guys? I think you all are going to enjoy this podcast. If you all are familiar with my work, you're definitely going to enjoy it. I'm speaking to Alonzo Pichardo about alchemy, about taking trauma, fear-based trauma, PTSD, and how to overcome that and use that to actually get to where you want to be in life. So many people are dealing with PTSD from things that have happened to them when they were children, and they're still dealing with it way into their adult lives. So I was supposed to have another interview with someone scheduled, but they wasn't able to show, and so this was kind of a makeshift interview with Alonzo. And me and him talk every day, so I know everything about him. So I'm digging deep, man. I'm pulling out some stuff he's told me, and he's given me permission to talk to him about. So we get kind of deep. And as we go into the end of the interview, we tie it all back into spirituality and talk about the things you guys like, talking about entities and spirits and demons and things like that. So that all fits in as well. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Make sure to subscribe to get alerted for more. Shalom, shalom. Enjoy.
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah podcast, streaming live at TruthSeekah.com, your source for spiritual and inspirational music, teachings, and media. This show is designed to help you grow in your walk with Christ and advance the kingdom of heaven. And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
Yo, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? You're now tuned into the TruthSeekah podcast. Want to thank everybody for hanging out with us today. We're going to have a great discussion. I've got some awesome topics of interest to speak to my good friend, Alonzo Pichardo. I'm going to go ahead and welcome him to the show. You guys see his beautiful mug. What's going on, Alonzo?
I'm all right, man. How you doing?
Hey, brother. Dude, thanks for coming on the show, especially last minute, man. Had some stuff come up with my last guest, so we have been talking about doing a show anyway, and you was available, man. So thanks so much for coming on and hanging out.
No worries, man. Always.
No worries. That's what's up. I want to give a quick shout out to the Patreons who have, or patrons, Patreons, whatever, who have signed up for support for this month. So we got Steve Payne. Shout out to Steve Payne. Thanks so much for believing in the vision. And Erich Childs. Erich catches almost every live stream that we do. So thanks so much, Erich, for hanging out and supporting the vision, man. It means so much that you guys get behind what we're doing with the music and the podcast and everything. It takes money to run what we're doing here, to run and use all this equipment and host a podcast on Libsyn and iTunes and all that stuff. So huge thank you and shout out to you guys for helping with that. So if you guys want to help out at any level of giving, anywhere from $1 to $1,000 a month, whatever you feel led to do, whatever you can do, $1's fine, man. I got like 14,000 followers on Facebook, and if everybody gave $1, dude, we can accomplish so much with the vision and put so much behind the art and creativity and doing what we're wanting to do. So you can go to patreon.com/TruthSeekah and listen to music that is not even released yet. So there's unreleased music. As I finish it, I'm uploading it to there. As soon as we get done with music videos, they're uploaded to there, and this is you get access to it before the general public even gets to hear it, like months before it's on an album, before it's on a music video or anything. So thanks so much for you guys doing that, man. It means so much. So back to the topic at hand, my good friend Alonzo Pichardo, man. One thing about Alonzo and one thing about the podcast, instead of calling it, TruthSeekah, the Mythicist podcast or the Trolls podcast or whatever, trying to promote something different, it just labeling it under TruthSeekah podcast, because I just interview people who I'm interested in, people who are in my life, people who I believe would be a great conversation. And so me and Alonzo talk pretty much every day, and we talk about anything and everything. Like, we talk about spirituality, metaphysics, Jesus, all the way down to marketing and strategies for promoting what we're building online. So we just have this awesome friendship, and I thought it would be awesome to showcase his story and just let you guys be able to sit in on a conversation that we have daily. So I'm going to talk about his story a little bit, and where I want to start, Alonzo, because there's so many places we can go, because I know your story, man, and there's still stuff you haven't told me, right? But an awesome place to start would be where you came to relationship with Jesus Christ, because this story is different for everyone, and it sticks out for you when we have this conversation is that we have had a different paths to get to the same point, and you came to faith in Christ through the Mormon Church, and where I came to faith through was like the Assemblies of God charismatic movements type stuff, and they would demonize what you were involved with. They'll say, no, Jesus is not involved with the Mormon Church. There are a cult, and there's no truth in that. You need to get out of that as quick as you can. But when we talk, we have a very similar story, and you have had very real and intimate relationship with Jesus, man. So if you want to set that up, brother, how you came into faith in Christ through the Mormon Church, that'd be awesome.
Well, my story, man, I've been on my own since I was 15. I'm 37 now. So, I was kind of that kid that was kind of lost, not in terms of lost emotionally, and I fell into watching, the whole cliche, watching televangelists on TV, watching the 700 Club and all that, And I was 16, man. I was working at Brown University, man. And one night I prayed. This was like I was just 17 going into 18. And I said the sinner's prayer, all that, And I literally, man, I said, man, God, if you want me to go to church, present your true church to me. And this is the truth, man. It sounds cliche, but this is 100% true. Anyways, I said that, and then the next day, who knocks on my door? But the Mormons.
Yeah.
And anyways, so my whole thing, dude, was I really wanted to be baptized, And so I studied with them for a while, and then I started going to the church, and then I was baptized. But then I fell into where I started visiting the church for 2.5 years. I was a part of the church. And like I said, man, my experiences were nothing but good experiences. I have nothing bad to say. I never seen anything weird, like they tend to say. Out of all the religions that I studied with the Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, evangelicals, anything. I studied with them all. But out of all of them, the Mormons were the ones that I felt the most Christ-like love, man. People that genuinely cared. Yeah. I mean, they go beyond the extra mile for you. Man, I was hospitalized once, and they were there. Like, every visit, they were there. Hey, man, you okay? Everything good? I'm like, man, So it was a genuineness that came from them, and it still brings good memories to me when I think of them to this day, because they're beautiful people, man, and that was a good 3 years of my life that I spent with them. And I decided to walk away, not because of anything that I've seen. It's just because it's me, man. I'm not the type of guy where I'm a follower. I like doing my own thing,
I think the majority of people who are watching have a similar story where they were involved with a religious organization or a church, and most people who follow the work that I do, they can't thrive in a place of control like that, and like a structure or organized religion. Not that we like disorganization, but the hierarchies and things that come along with that. But I guess give us a little bit more inside look upon it, man. What was some of the stuff that you did? You talked about your baptismal session or procession, or what I'm saying. What did that entail?
It was your typical, you go into a little pool there. It was actually a big one. And it was the only thing that with the Mormons is very private, your baptism. It's up to you who you want to invite. You invite who you want to invite because it's considered something holy and sacred to them. So I didn't invite nobody because I don't have family.
Yeah. So
the only ones that were there were like 2 of the elders who are missionaries, and the one who baptized me, and the bishop. So altogether 3 people were watching, and the elder that baptized me. Yeah.
You talked about I don't know if you would say different levels or different.
Yeah.
Because you said that you guys would come together and they would pray for different giftings and abilities to be released in your life, like to be able to hear from God more clearly, to be, these different giftings and stuff, man. Talk a little bit about that because like you're the only person that I've heard they actually, you know what I'm saying, say that. I don't hear that. And
yep, they I don't know. I guess when they start to know, I don't know how it works out because the only gift that I got, they call the gifts. They call you, and it was a nerve-wracking day for me, man. I was a 18-year-old kid, and they call you out in front of the church, in front of everyone, to have this ceremony done. So you sit down, and they all lay hands on you, and they anoint you with like oil.
Yeah. I
was blessed with like what they call the priesthood and like prophecy. Yeah, they literally do. They anointing oil, and they all pull out their oil, and each one of them anoint you. It was 3 of the elders, and I was blessed with like the priesthood and something with like the gift of prophecy, something like that.
So, so whenever you're talking about the priesthood, did they use the term the priesthood of Melchizedek? Was that a term that was used?
I guess.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, that's the priesthood of Christ. That's the priesthood that Christ is under. Like Christ has a hierarchy that he's involved with, and it is the priesthood of Melchizedek. Man,
these guys, when they were baptizing me, man, they were in tears as they were doing this.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm 18. I'm like, but then they explained to me the importance of this blessing and what it meant.
Why that sticks out to me is because we did similar things in the charismatic churches. They would, ask God to reveal to you what giftings and talents that you have within you, and for you to, be released into that gifting. And the scriptures actually say that that it says to lay hands on one another so that you can stir up is the term that you stir up the gifts of God that are within you. So whatever is within you to actually pray for you, lay hands, anoint you, and bring that gifting out. And so that's what you're talking about, right?
Yep. And it's, shortly after, because it's just my nature, I walked away from the faith. And but after that, and I'm not lying, man, after that, certain things started happening in my life, certain spiritual experiences that, I don't want to touch on, but where I can't deny the truth of who God and Christ are,
Every time we talk,
deep stuff, man, that don't really want to talk about.
Every time me and you talk, and I talk about even faith. Even faith is a weird term for me, but when I bring that up to you, we talk about belief and faith. You always correct me, because there's a difference between having faith in something. Faith is having this belief and hope that something might happen, right? Yeah. But knowing, you talk about not having faith in Jesus or faith in God, but knowing them intimately. You don't hope that they exist, or maybe they exist. Maybe that they exist. Man, talk a little bit about the difference between faith and knowing.
Yeah, that's something like I always get on you. Not always get on you, but I tend to correct you when you use that believe.
Yeah.
Because the word believe to me equals uncertainty. Yeah. You're not sure. You believe and you hope so.
Yeah.
And when it comes to God and Christ, it's a knowing, at least with me. Mm-hmm. And my personal experiences with them, it's like, I know, I don't believe. Because you believe in anything until something else better comes along,
Yeah. Let me ask you this. So people are asking in the chat. So, yeah, just a quick shout out to everybody in the chat. We got a bunch of people watching live right now on YouTube and Facebook. So shout out to everybody. People are asking about the gift of the Holy Spirit. So when we talk about laying on the hands, it says you shall receive the gift of the Holy Ghost when you're baptized or in prayer. And there's different levels to that. Some is when you're baptized, some is when you have this confession or profession of faith, and some is when you actually lay the hands on them. So was there an emphasis on this ecstatic encounter, like you feel the bliss and you feel the presence of God overwhelm your body and cleanse all the wrong you've done? Do you feel that in your physical body? Was that an emphasis in the Mormon church?
That was a deep emphasis, the Holy Spirit, and I did feel when I walked out of there, man, I felt just new, man. You know what I mean? And my mindset was different too. I mean, I'm a typical Puerto Rican, man. I'm very passionate, and sometimes I cuss a lot. But dude, I went like a good 2 years where not even a cuss word, man. And it wasn't even like done consciously. People were like, hey man, you notice you don't really cuss? I'm like, no. You know, and my behavior just changed, and my views toward just how I viewed life, people. I saw beauty in everything, man. So it did spark a huge change in my mind and my outlook on life, you know. So that is true, man. I did feel that renewing of your mind, like they say, you know.
Yeah. And I don't want people to get it twisted, because you did say that you walked away from the church, but you didn't walk away from your relationship with God in Christ, though, right?
No. Never. I talk to them every day, man. That's the only thing I have, brother.
Yeah.
Without that, I couldn't imagine life, you know? Even though, you know, people know us because we joke with each other.
Yeah.
But I'm like, dude, I live in a certain way. Like, if you viewed how I lived, you'd be like, this dude is a monk or something, you know? But I couldn't imagine a life without them, because they brought me this far, considering how I grew up, man.
Yeah.
You know?
That's powerful, man, that it's something that's a part of you. And it's so weird that there's a lot of people with a similar story. That's why I feel the need to interview people like you and have these discussions, is that people have these similar stories. And I don't know about the Mormon church, but I know about many, we could say, cults or whatever. And when I say cult, I'm just talking about a fringe group of believers. You can be charismatic, or you can be in Assemblies of God or whatever. But whenever you leave these small groups of people, a lot of times they demonize you or whatever. And a lot of times they'll say, like, if you don't go to the church, if you don't come to our church, then you're not a part of the church, like the body of Christ. And that's totally backward. Like, people think that they go to church. Yeah, I'm going to church this Sunday. No, that whole thinking is totally backwards, and it's not scriptural. Not as far as meeting with other people of like-minded faith, but you are the church. You are the temple of the Holy Spirit, and the Spirit of God dwelleth within you. So there's a lot of people who will feel like condemned, and they feel like they're outcasted and things like that, because they are not a part of that church structure. You know what I'm saying? So talk a little bit about that, man, about just like, have you felt a backlash? I think you even told me that they've, you know what I'm saying, that they've contacted you and you know what I'm saying, checked on you and stuff like that. Like, it wasn't no hostility or nothing, right?
No, man. These cats, man, even after I left, man, I mean, like maybe 5 years, one of them just appeared where I lived. But I wasn't home, and my brother was like, you know, so-and-so from so-and-so visit you. You know, I'm like, what? And I remember his name. His name was Elder His last name was Twitchell. His name was Elder Twitchell. And dude, this man was like the most sweetest individual I ever knew, man. I mean, we became like brothers. And that man, 5 years after I left the faith, just came out of his way from Connecticut to visit me. But, you know, sadly we missed, you know, but these are guys, when I think about them, it brings a smile to my face, man, because it was a good time and strong bonds were made. But sadly, you know, as life goes on, we drift apart. But these were, and they were guys around my age, some were a year younger than me at the time, you know, and they sacrificed 2 years out of their life to do this, you know, and you feel the genuineness to what they do. Like it comes from a place of selflessness, where they really do. I mean, they care, brother, you know?
And they show it, man. And it's not like there's a hidden agenda. Like they're just trying to get numbers or get members. Like they genuinely care about you.
Like the bishop who preaches, you know, every Sunday, he does not get paid. All the money that's earned goes to different organizations that they donate to. And even them, the missionaries, they live off $140 a month that's given to them, you know?
Yeah.
What did someone say?
You know, I'm reading the comments, man. I shouldn't laugh at that quote, but I'm just sitting there reading these comments. Okay, so this is a good transition and a healthy transition as well. A good friend of mine, I guess a mutual friend, Jonathan Hardy.
Hardy.
Yeah, he's a friend on Facebook, and he's probably mutual, but he says, this guy is totally different from his comments.
I am totally different, man. You got to understand. I like to joke.
Exactly.
But me personally, I behave a certain way.
Yeah. But we do like to have.
You know our pranks, man. The things we do to one another.
Yeah, and people don't. That was a big thing, and you kind of helped me overcome that about not wanting people to see the joking side or see the human side or see the struggle side, because doing my music over a certain period of time, and it's all about these ecstatic, awesome experiences with God, with angels, aliens, metaphysical, spirituality, meditation, all that stuff is legit, and all of it is a part of my life. But there's also the part that I like to have fun. I like to play video games. You know what I'm saying? I like to do family vlogging with my family, and that.
I love to laugh, man.
Exactly.
That's what gets me through.
That's what
I love to laugh.
100% right, dude. Laughter.
That's what gets me through this experience, because this journey of mine hasn't been the easiest. So laughing.
Exactly.
I just love it, man. Even if it's the silliest things, man. I just love it.
Yeah, laughter is a medicine, and I always say that we have to be able to laugh at this stuff, because if we don't, some of it is so crazy, it'll drive us crazy. Like if you take yourself too seriously, like it'll drive you crazy, man, when things don't line up. So you have to be able to laugh at yourself, laugh at some of the things in the belief system that you follow that don't add up. Some of it is hilarious, man, and we do joke around a lot, but when I started showing that side of me, some people got upset. They're like, no, you're a spiritual leader. You're a spiritual guru. Like, you're the person that I look to for affirmation. There's no way you can be funny. There's no way, you know what I'm saying? So I had to almost pretend to be this other person that I've almost created through my music. That part of me knew that, because I am that. Like, I am the guru. I am the one who prays and the one who seeks God diligently. But there's also the side that I like to play basketball. I like to tell jokes. I like to make people laugh all day when I'm around my family, my wife and daughter. Like, one of my big goals is to make them laugh, because I love to see a smile brought to their face.
We all have different sides, because like with me, people get like people just from looking at my pictures think I'm some angry, intense guy.
Yeah.
Yet you meet me, I'm like the biggest clown you ever meet,
Yeah.
So even though we all have points in our time where it's time to quit dragging our feet and be real,
Yeah. It's a weird dichotomy to actually draw the difference between that and be like, okay, do I let them see that side of me, or do you only get to see the spiritual side? That's all you get. And I think that's kind of a lie, though. Like, you should get the whole package and see how the spirituality helps in my day-to-day, and how laughing helps in my day-to-day, and how marketing is a part of my life, and how doubt sometimes is a part of my life, and stuff like that. Like, they should be able to get the full picture to really, like, you can't appreciate... I'm reading the comments again. John Judo.
I can imagine what they're saying. I can't see it, man.
John Judo says angry Alonzo. Well, he's joking.
Oh, John Judo. I love John Judo, man. That man's a beautiful individual, even though he could choke you out.
I know, right? That's what people say when I was talking to Watchman about John Judo the other day, and Watchman was like, dude, I talked to John Judo, and he's so meek and peaceful and humble, and he's like a killer. He's like a trained killer,
Like he'll rip your neck.
Yeah. But he's just so humble and meek and soft spoken. So shout out to John Judo, man. Yeah, dude. But yeah, so you helped me, even with the name of the podcast, the TruthSeekah podcast. I got to have another name. Let's call it Mythicist, so people feel involved, or people feel like it's something other than me or whatever. But essentially, you kind of helped me out, man, through motivation and just telling me not to be afraid to be myself, man. That's huge. That's huge, man. It really is.
It is, man. It is, because that's when it comes, when you're just yourself, you start seeing people flocking to you, instead of trying to fake and, being something you're not, you know?
There's just so much to say, but just having this level of authenticity to you, that, and those who support you, those who love you, like, they love All of it. It's so weird, man, because even on the other spectrum of the people who only know you, like these guys who some people are seeing you for the first time here, they only know you.
Imagine what they're saying, man.
They only know you as the troll. They only know you, you know what I'm saying? Know you as the guy who tells jokes and stuff. So they're seeing a spiritual side. They're like, wait, you know, they can't.
But that's the funny thing, though, because there's so many sides to me. There's the marketer, web designer.
Yeah, they haven't even seen the marketer side. They haven't seen that
stuff
side.
I've done with you, my own personal story, which, you know, it's like beyond anything you've seen in a film, you know. So it's like, I dig it, but, you know, we all have sides to us, man.
Yeah, it's weird because part of you's like, okay, you can't have those sides because you're essentially double-minded, maybe split personality. You have these other personas that you take on, but essentially you're supposed to. Like when you go into the business realm, when you go around professional people, you can't be around them being, you know, the Alonzo that you are when we're hanging out, just us. Like you have to change your conversation. You have to change the way you talk, maybe the way that you pronunciate words. Like it is different, man. And it's not, you have to come to terms with that. It's like, it's a part of life, you know. It was a big thing for me, man. That's why I'm staying on the subject a little bit. You know, it was a huge thing for me to even name this podcast what I call it, and to be able to have fun and let people see that, and to be able to be spiritual and let people see that, you know.
Yeah, man. You got to be yourself, man, and you got to quit worrying about others' opinions.
Yeah.
Others' opinions do not matter. The only opinion that matters is your own. You know, trust yourself, trust your gut instinct, man, and you'll succeed at whatever you want to do, online or offline. That's something I've always said to you, because I understand, man. You're in a different, you know, you're known.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're a Christian. You're a Christian hip hop artist. So I understand you got to toe the line, but you can also be yourself, man, and have fun, and you know, because a life without humor, man, it's not a life, you know.
Yeah.
Be jumping off bridges and you know.
Laughter goes a long way, man. It really does. It really does. You can't take yourself too seriously. But to kind of get back on your story a little bit, talked about your upbringing, man. You've told me some things, and you said, you know, you did say that you're willing to, you know, you're willing to talk about anything, man. So
cool, man.
I want to talk about your upbringing because
I'm a half-open book.
I think that
to your fans, at least, I'm a half-open book.
Well, they're gonna hopefully they'll get what I get today. Hopefully they're able to, you know, meet the Alonzo that I know today. We talked about your upbringing, and there's so many places we can go there. But first of all, talk about your brothers, man, because you come from a family. Like, what's the next oldest brother to you? Like, who like what's the difference in the age?
It's weird because we can go. You know, there's brothers I have in New York who I love to pieces. You know, but they're my siblings from my father's other marriage. Then the ones that I was raised next to. Yeah,
the ones you were raised with, yeah. Yeah,
the ones that I was raised next to, my mother's first marriage, my oldest brother's 61 years old.
Yeah. That's a huge age gap, man.
And then the second youngest after me would have been my sister, but she passed away. You know, it's my brother who's 52.
52. So that's almost 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Almost 20 years older than you, your brother. And you talked to me. My mother's 81.
You
talked to me about dealing with your brothers and dealing with you know, being left alone with them. Not even being left alone, because you talked about some things that would happen in front of your mother, man. About trauma. And the reason I want to bring this up is not to point a finger, but to say that
you don't have an Oprah moment here, man. Stop crying.
I mean, I had the same encounters, you know what I'm saying, with my brother, that you were bullied and you were beat up and essentially tortured, like used as a punching bag.
I had almost cussed. See, I caught myself. But you know, I wasn't bullied, man. These were grown men.
Yeah.
You know,
men totally punching a little kid and
beating the hell out of me, man. It was, you know, so I grew up in an environment, dude, where it was constant, like, You know, there was times when I would see my brothers where I would be like this.
Yeah, the PTSD, man.
Yeah, man, and everything I did was either a name call or a punch in the face or a slap, and it was primarily two of my brothers, you know, that always did that to me, you know. So, and then my mother, I don't know, man. She wasn't really a protector. She wasn't a provider either. And my father was a piece of trash guy who I'd never seen. To this day, I never see him.
Yeah.
You know, he was never a part of my life. So I don't consider, I consider him someone I know.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I see him, there's no, what's the word? There's no
connection.
There's no connection. It's just an uncomfortable feeling of being around that man. And I don't know, because he himself has a total of 7 children, you know, including me, and 7 children. My mother too, including her, she has 7 children. But my father, he raised all 6 of his kids, but he never did anything for me. He just left, you know. So, you know, he's someone that, you know, I don't love him and I don't dislike him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm indifferent. I have no feelings towards this individual.
So let me ask you this, because I have a very similar story. I really don't know my dad. He walked out when I was like 2 or 3. The weird thing is I have memories of my dad, like imprinted when I was 2 or 3. You know what I'm saying? That's the weird thing to me. But he walked out as well. And I was tortured by my brother. You know, when my mom would go to work, we'd be left alone with him. And he's about 7 years older. And he was watching us when he was 10. We'd have to stay home with him. And he'd lock us in dresser drawers, you know, with sock drawer. He'd put us in a sock drawer, make us lay down and shut it and leave us there for hours, trunks and stuff like that. You talked about this weird feeling that I felt because I was sharing it with you. And you was like, yeah, I've been there. You talked about having this older man, your older brother,
grown man,
lay on top of you and try to suffocate you with a pillow, and you're screaming into the darkness of the pillow as a child, thinking you were going to die because you can't breathe.
Oh, I remember that one vividly, man. That happened like 1990.
Yeah.
So I was about 10. Oh, I remember like it was yesterday, man. They were all in the living room. I don't know what the hell I did.
Yeah.
Automatically, I get yanked, I get pushed around, and then he's like the crazy one. He's this little, one of my brothers was just out of his mind, but he was even more at that time. So he did something where, I don't know what I did. He hit me, then pushed me on the couch. Then he took the pillow and literally put it on my face and sat on me with the pillow on my face.
Yeah.
My mother just stood in the doorway of the living room, just observing.
Yeah.
And I remember when he finally let me go, man, I just ran into like this little, if you can even call it a room, and just stayed there, man. Yeah.
I was reading here in the comments, and Kimberly is saying that she had a very similar childhood, and she had to disassociate herself with people from that time so she can cope with life, right? And
that's what I've done.
She says that she says, I'm like that. I have to focus on colors every second near to help me stay in the now. And I want to talk about like going through that trauma and having a safe zone, because you've talked to me you've talked about like maybe there would this one thing that would save you, and it is comical, but it is real.
I don't want to, but it's gonna. I hope it don't lead me to tears. That I've told you.
No. Let's talk about it.
It may sound cheesy. It may sound cheesy to the audience, man, but this is like, mind you, this is late 80s, early 90s. So I don't do this anymore. I'm 37 years old. But I used to watch wrestling. So there was a character called the Ultimate Warrior.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, that dude, man, I hope I don't cry, man, if you make me cry. But that dude, man, it was like when he would pop on the TV, it was like an escape for me. Dude. Yeah. And I told you, man, like when my brothers used to beat me up, but to the Ultimate Warrior, that's what I used to tell them.
Yeah.
So that dude, man, when he would pop up on that TV, like my mind would like,
yeah,
I felt safe, even though I wasn't.
Yeah.
Like I thought he was gonna help me.
You felt like you can call on him. in those situations. Like if you you only need to call on them if you have to. Like there's one day that I'm gonna call on them and you guys are gonna be sorry.
That's what I used to tell my brothers, man.
No.
Warrior. So,
I'm gonna tell the Ultimate Warrior.
And dude, and hand to God, I'm not lying to you, because he passed away in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And I happened to share I went to his website and I commented my little story on his website, and his wife happened to read it, and she replied back to me, man. And I told her, and I told him what that character meant to me and my upbringing, and she sent me some nice feedback off of that, man, and it really meant a lot, because I would have loved to have met that man, because I probably would have cried like a little girl just telling my story, what his character meant, because it was like a protection,
You told me about.
And this guy back here sometimes too, man. Who told you,
tell Bruce Lee he's still alive.
I swear, when you're 10 and 8, you don't know no.
Yeah, man.
And you can't physically defend yourself. So,
for me, I think my safe zone when I was a kid was my dad, because I didn't know him. Excuse my language. To me, he couldn't be a piece of shit. Like, he was a savior. He was somebody that, if I ever got to go live with my dad, things would be better. But I didn't know that he was an alcoholic. I didn't know that all of these things that were going on as a kid, right? Just like you don't know that the Ultimate Warrior maybe had a drinking problem or a drug problem or put his hands on women or whatever he did that would tarnish your view of that character, right? Yeah. So in those traumatic moments, you'll say, okay, if I have to, this will, I could do that. Two places I want to go with this is that now the safe zone is Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. Like, he's who we can call on. And it is no theory that one day I'll call upon him. See, that's the place we get in trouble. But when we first call upon him, and when we go through any trauma or any fear, because like you as a grown man, like the PTSD, even though you've dealt with that stuff and you've put it in certain places and you've gotten a lot of healing over the years, there's still times that can affect you as an adult, and you have to call on Jesus like you do. I'm sure even talking about this, you're reliving it because you have a photogenic memory, man, and you're taken back to the time and place when it happens. And me too. I'm fighting back tears as well talking to you about this stuff. So I know. So that's what's so beautiful about Jesus. They say Jesus is a crutch. Some people say it's like, he can be a crutch for people who are broken, man. He is, and like. You coming up without a father, I'm sure it's like me. The Lord says, I'll be a father unto the fatherless. So you can know the creator of the universe in this intimate way.
Pretty much, dude, is motherless too, because my mother, we've grown, we have a relationship now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm almost, I'm creeping up on 40. Now we're close, and I've always had a love for my mother, and I tend to view it differently now. She did the best with the little that she had, and I had a coward for a father who just left, and my mother was a woman who was working in a factory, man. I mean, a factory from like 6 a.m. to like 5 p.m. every day, minus the weekends, man. And she would wake up at 4 a.m. and walk to work.
Yeah.
And mind you, we were always getting our electricity cut off. I never had a bed, brother. Yeah. I never had a bed growing up. I slept on a box spring. And before that, I slept on this couch that the cushions were worn out, man.
You can feel the springs all in your back?
Literally, dude. No one gave a damn, brother.
Yeah.
When it came to me, no one cared.
That's a lot that's a lot of children, man. And you were the last one.
No, these were grown men already. I was the little one. But these were, sad to say. I love my brothers. They're still, and that's the weird thing. There's a part of me that I still love these guys. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But these were grown bum men that were still living at home. And I was 10, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
And so yeah, man, but I made it through, I made it through all that. And then, goodness, so much more happened after the age of 15, after I went off on my own.
Yeah.
So.
I just want to let everybody know that the phone lines are open. If you guys want to call in and chime in on the conversation, or if you have questions as well, the phone lines are open to do that. The number is in the description of the video and scrolling across the bottom. I do see we have callers on hold now. We will take these calls here in a little while, so just be patient with us. I know we're getting deep, man. This is stuff that we've talked about before, and I like that, we have everything in one episode, man, one interview, because some of this stuff is spaced out in several interviews we've talked about. But you were interviewed by the news, and you were, I think, Geraldo contacted you. This certain thing that happened to you, man. If you want to talk about why you were contacted by Geraldo.
Yeah, I was on his radio show, and I did a via satellite interview with him. Yeah, my sister and niece were murdered in 2013 in their home. Yeah, crazy. She was murdered by some guy she had broken up with over a year, and he broke in and murdered her and my niece, who was 25 at the time, in the house in front of the children. They were murdered. So, yeah.
And you were the only one who was trying to get to the bottom of it.
I was the only one that was vocal because, in Puerto Rican culture, man, I don't know. I'm not your typical Puerto Rican. It's like people are just, my mother, I understand she didn't know better, I mean, she's grieving. And then her and my sister were just super close. And I was close to my sister too, man. We were always texting each other. We were always joking. That was our relationship. When we did see each other, it was always like me grabbing her and, I'm going to shave all your hair off. That was our relationship. Because she was my older sister. If she was alive, she would be turning 45. But I always felt like the older brother.
Yeah.
She was always coming to me because they called me Ralph. It was like, hey, Ralph, figure this out for me. Can you do this for me? It was like constant. So I loved her to pieces, man. And it's still unreal, that her and my niece are in a cold grave, when they should be right now they would be working if they were alive, So that's something that you never get over. Yeah, you move forward, but it's like another piece of your heart's ripped out, man.
It had to be hard, man. I talked to you several times about it.
Oh yeah, man. It was like, go ahead.
That was a sibling that you were the closest to as well, right? Because you have
I loved her to pieces, man.
All these brothers and sisters, but the one that you were closest with was the one that it happened to, right?
Yeah, man. We had I don't know, we were like buddies, That was our relationship, man. She was quick to crack on me, but it was done in a loving way, it wasn't done in a mean-spirited way. I was quick to crack on her, but it was all done from a place of love.
And now you do that with me.
We're really honest with one another,
Now you're always cracking on me, Alonzo, and the people
man.
on Facebook.
You do it too, man. You get me good, man.
I get you good.
You do get me good.
We can't talk about what
It's fine, man. I got a great sense of humor, man.
I know, man. Yeah, and we need that, man. And there's another instance of that stood out to me. You talked about being 15 years old, living with your mom, coming home after school.
Yeah.
You walk in the door, and what's there? She's
gone. She just left. No, nothing, man. So mind you, I'm just mid 15, like 15 and a half. So I come home from Central High School in Providence, Rhode Island. And I get home hungry, but I'm like, shoot, man, not gonna be no food here. So, I get home, no one's there. So I sat around the house for a good 3 hours. I'm like, okay, no one to call, no one to communicate. I don't know what's going on, But then out of nowhere, like maybe 8 p.m. at night or something, my older brother, the one who's in his 60s, shows up and said, hey, I'm like, where's Mom? Oh, she's not coming back. I mean, where is she? She's not coming back. And then he told me what happened, and Yeah, man. But my older brother, he stayed with me, man. He said, listen, she wants me to leave you alone here too and not come back. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay here with you. So he stayed with me. And then, even then, man, I am like I am now.
On your toes.
I'm on my toes, man. I'm like, all right, I got to find someone that can
happen.
I got to make something happen. So I remember this older lady I knew who had this like three-story home. And I went to her and I explained to her my situation. Mind you, you can't really work back then till you were 16. So I explained to her that night. I went to her house and I told her what was going on. She's like, okay. I have this it was just, everything was in one room in this apartment, man. I mean, I could like turn off the light, turn off the sink, flush the toilet with my foot. That's how everything. So just, I got this little room up there. You can stay there until you turn 16. And I was like 2.5 months away from 2 months away from turning 16. So she let me stay there. And as soon as I turned 16, man, I went to like this little temp agency. They gave me a job and I was doing odd jobs. And then I finally landed working at Brown University. Yeah. Did that for a few years.
Well, you talked about like
minimum wage was like $5.25, $5.50 back then. This is like mid '96. So
you talked about whenever you found out that your mom left. Didn't you quit school the next day? Like you never went back to school after that?
I had to. Yeah. I had to. Something said, all right, work or be homeless, drop out of school. There was really no.
Yeah.
So, and I was a decent student, man. I always been quick to learn because learning is easy. All you got to do is pay attention. That's how you learn. You
talked about having a phone call and actually talking to your mom that night.
Yeah, she.
How did that phone call go?
She basically said, "Well, it was just some vicious, out of the air, stuff she was saying," and I'm like, "Well, what about me? I'll call your dad." Like, I don't see my dad. I'm gonna call my dad. Barely know the guy. I can say, "I'll tell him to help you," but mind you, my brother's already here. He was already there. He's like. And I was crying, man. I'm a kid.
Yeah, but she was saying that she didn't want you, and she wasn't your mother anymore, right?
All that stuff, man. She was just being vicious, and and I went after that happened, man. I went a good 2.5 years without seeing my mother until, my brother one day appeared with her at my house, and I was like, and even that, man, I went another 2 years without calling her mom. I was calling her by her name.
Yeah. How was
that?
How was that first interaction when you seen her? Yeah.
Check this out. That day he brought her, mind you, this is no lie, brother, because the minimum wage, like I told you, was like $5.25, $5.50. I was surviving on bologna, and this is salami sandwiches and cornflakes. That's all I was surviving on. I had long hair. I was probably like 115 pounds at the time. 15 years old, 16, your body's changing, But that day, I didn't see her for like 2 years, so I was already turning 18, 19. She comes with this big old bowl of like food. And, me trying to be the angry guy, I'm like, oh, get out of here, But in the back of my head, I was like, man, I wish you would have got me through the week. Eating portions.
Yeah, man. It's rough, man.
Because I did tell her to leave when she did show up.
Yeah.
My brother, I said, get her out of here. But then she came back again and we, moved forward from there, told me where she lived. And, I would go visit here and there,
So how's that? I mean, your relationship now, you said, now you have a loving relationship. I know it's hard to forget, man, but you got to kind of prepare yourself mentally around them, and you can't like blame them. You have to look at them for being a victim as well and see what they've been through and what made them do that to you. But for you to still be able to be around her and call her mom and still love her, like talk a little bit about that, like your relationship now.
Well, I love my mother now, man, because I understand, because because you look back at it, you look at her, at her age now, and you're like, she's 81, and you say, you look, and then you learn, and then as time went on, you learn about her own upbringing, how she was raised. My mother's a Puerto Rican woman, and a Black Puerto Rican woman at that, So she was raised in a different type of environment, like in the 30s and 50s, because my mother came to America in 1952. She was like 15, 16 years old, and she always was raised almost like feeling less than. And that's pretty much, it's kind of like you become the parent that your parent was almost, for some. So she treated her children how she was treated, so, but I've forgiven her, man. I love my mother, so I reached that point where I view her with a lot of love. And then I view my mother as a very strong woman too, man, because all the losses we had. We lost a brother in '93. We had this with my sister and niece, and just all the losses within the family, and just to see her so strong and still here, upright, and even her, my mother has this intense way about her, but great sense of humor. Nothing she wouldn't do for anyone.
You said she doesn't talk though; she yells, right?
Oh yeah,
I can just picture that, man. I do a little impersonation of your mom all the time.
Yeah,
That's one thing we joke about.
She's always yelling, dude.
Yeah.
Like, Mom, calm down. Calm down. I said, I told her, you should have became like a boxer or something.
Yeah.
Always like, So.
There was a story you told me that you had. So. Talking about hanging out with other friends, and that was weird for me too, like, because I come from a broken home, but as a kid you don't know it. That's just life to you, and you adjust, but then you find out your friends are treated differently. Your friends have a loving father in the home. I remember spending the night with some friends, and their dad was wrestling with them, like picking them up and body slamming them, and they were jumping on them, trying to choke them, and like I was there. And I did it too. And it was so weird for me to be interacting with their dad like that. And like, I didn't have that, you know what I'm saying? And like, it's so weird to like, you don't know what you have until it's gone, or until you don't have it. And I was able to experience like, man, this is normal for people. They have a loving father. Like, I don't know if I'll ever have that. You know what I'm saying? So.
Exactly, man. Yep.
You talked about having a really close friend, and his father was.
Oh, he's he's not my friend. That's my brother, man. His name is Greg, and his dad is we call him Big Greg because he's a big dude. He's like 6'5".
Yeah.
And even though Greg himself, my friend, he's pretty big too. He's like 6'2". But yeah, man. Growing up, I met him when I was like in 1990. I was about 10. And he was like 8 or 9 in the 4th grade. So 4th or 5th grade we met. And yeah, man, we became really close, man. To this day, sadly, certain things, life, such as anything in life, you don't really drift apart, but you don't hang out like you used to. That's just life, He has children and, me, and we don't see each other every day, but that's like, his dad was someone that I just love to pieces, man.
How was it going over to his house and being like, man, you got a bed? You got a bed, dog? What? Can I sleep in the bed?
Dude, there was times, and I remember one time I was talking to his mom about this. I'm grown now, and so I shared things with them now. I said, you know what? I used to try to hang around an extra hour later just so you guys can offer me some food. And his mother teared up over that. She's like, why didn't you just tell us, And, I used to try to hang around as late as I could just to get it. Because, they were always very much ready to offer, I'm like, all right, it's 6 o'clock, right? Let me hang around to, dinner.
What y'all cooking with dinner?
Supper, like they say. But, even my friend, man, and he's a real tough guy, man. Even he, when we talk about those days, because he's seen it himself, the stuff I went through. Yeah. He's like, dude, and that was something when I last saw him, he told me that he always admired that about me because he saw what I went through. And out of all the friends we had along the way, the only one that didn't go down a certain path or do certain things was me. I didn't really follow the crowd, you know?
Yeah.
But out of all of them, I should have been like the most angry, violent dude, you know? And I'm like,
you should be the one in jail, you know?
Or making mistakes.
You should be the statistic,
like other mistakes like some of our other friends have made, sadly.
Yeah. Is this the same friend whose dad bought you the Sega Genesis?
Yeah, but you know that's I want to say the positive side of that.
Okay. We got to kind of set the story up too, though, so people.
Yeah, I want to touch on the positive side of that because
let's talk.
I never really got anything for Christmas ever.
Yeah.
Like the only one that would give me a little gift ever was my brother Michael, who committed suicide, and he would always give me something, man. It wasn't much, but he would give me something.
Yeah.
But man, I was like, I think this was when the first what was it called? PlayStation? The first PlayStation came out. So I was already like 15, 16, something like that. And they called me over and I didn't really want to go over, you know, because, you know, it's holidays, people are with families. And yeah, man, he surprised me with like a PlayStation, man. It just made my day, you know, and it was like, wow. You know, and it was much more expensive.
Yeah.
You know, that
that was about the price of an Xbox back then. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, this is like when it first came out. I was like, wow. Even gave me a game and all that. So, you know, I was like, wow, so thanks, man.
You were like super happy to get it, man. You've never gotten a gift, essentially, especially that big, man. So how'd you feel like driving home with it, like having it? You ready to play it, man? You know?
Yeah, man. I was excited, dude, and I was like in awe of it, man, because I was like, wow, someone went out of their way to spend this kind of money on me, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's why I love that guy with all my heart, man. And to this day, man, there's such a reverence and respect for the guy. That's the only guy on this planet, Big Greg. If he would have told me to shut the bleep up and slap me, I wouldn't do anything out of the love for that guy because I view him like a father, man. You know, he kind of views me like a son too because when he talks to me, he's always like, Ralph, come around more, man. You never, like, you know me, Big Greg. I go where I need to be, you know.
But talking about the PlayStation, you said you actually never played that PlayStation that he gave you, though, right?
Well, you know, I was older, and you know, but I appreciated it, man. And
but it was a reason that was something that was said to you on the way home, though.
Yeah, but I don't really want to touch.
We don't.
I don't want to touch on that.
Why didn't you play it? Why didn't you play the PlayStation? It's all good, man. It's all good.
I know. I don't want to touch on it because we got past that. And just say this: there was something that was said that tarnished the feeling at the moment, but I still always appreciated the sentiment behind it. Mm-hmm. So I'll leave it at that. But something did tarnish it.
Okay.
But I don't want to touch on that because
that's fine.
I just have so much love for that.
Yeah.
Family.
Yeah, definitely.
You know.
So talking about how, you know, you should have been the statistic. You should be the one in jail. You should be the one that has nothing. You know what I'm saying? But you've created a life for yourself that's very comfortable now.
It's funny. God always provided a way for me, dude. Like when I went off on my own, I never lacked money. You know what I mean? And not that I'm far from wealth. I'm not rich or anything, but God always provided a way for me to maintain myself and take care of myself. And, you know, the last almost 10 years, I've been doing it in a bigger way online, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's basically, you know, how I connected with you through that. And plus we had a boatload of mutual friends, but pretty much, man, the last 10 years I've been doing my thing online and from home, you know?
Would you say that through all that adversity and the trauma and the stuff that comes with it, man, like how did your relationship with Christ help you to maintain, man? You know what I'm saying? To actually be a successful person, to actually show love to other people, even when you feel like you haven't been shown that much love. And so many people would take that to heart and be like, you know what, I wasn't loved, so I don't have love to give. You know what I'm saying? Because you're like genuinely like a real, you know what I'm saying, really good dude, man. You're a good friend and stuff like that. How does your relationship with Christ come into play with that, man? Because like for me, it totally helps me to cope, and whatever's good in me is because of him, you know. And I'm thankful that I'm here, because I should have been a statistic too. Like all my family members are. I hate to say that. My brother's locked up. Some of them are addicted to substance and things like that. So how does your faith in Christ, you know what I'm saying, come to play with where you are now and why you are successful, you know?
Well, you know, knowing him, man, and just that relationship with him, and it does give you that spirit where you view things differently, man. You know, you don't tend to, you know, I have my moments where I do get pissed and, you know, have that human nature. But yeah, I don't know. When Christ comes in, man, he does change you inside, man, and it helps you cope with a lot, because I've been through more than your average have been through. So, you know, it's that he gives you that resilience, man, to bounce back up, man. Mm-hmm. That's something I've always, you know, you gotta get back up, man, because that's something through knowing him and building a relationship with him and with God. That's what I've learned, is just being resilient and knowing this too shall pass type of thing. You know?
It kind of helps you see the positive where there's only negative to be viewed. You know what I'm saying? Like, even there's a story in the Bible talking about the valley of dry bones and seeing this huge army, man, of soldiers, man, and they're all dead. It's just dry bones. They've dead. They're over. Their life has come. Their legacy is behind them. But to be able to speak to those dry bones, to speak to the dead places, and speak life to a situation or circumstance where death is reigning, man. You know what I'm saying? So then that's alchemy. Like, that is being able to make gold out of lead, and to take something and make something out of this life and breathe life into it, man. And that's what God has done to your life, man. You know what I'm saying? And empowered you to take that same breath and breathe it into areas of your life. That's so powerful, man. And people need to understand that with God, all things are possible, man. And I think your story is like 100% proving that, you know?
Exactly, man. Without him, man, we're nothing. Whether you want to deny him or not, without him, we're nothing.
So where do you, as far as, because you're big on me about speaking positive affirmations, like I said, not believing, not having faith, or maybe we'll make something happen, but know it, to see it in your mind's eye, and to create it. Like, where does the power come into play for you with that, of making something happen out of nothing?
Well, I'm big into visualization. I've talked to you a lot about that, and I've even told you to do that for yourself. You know, so I'm big into like seeing it, praying about it, but also following through, you know, on your own end. But dude, there's been times where I'll think of something, and dude, it's like, just comes, man.
Yeah.
You almost got to, I was talking to you about this yesterday. You almost got to look up and smile. It's like, okay, that was fast, you know, that type of thing, you know?
Sometimes it is, man. Yeah.
You know? So, dude, there's been times, man, I have nothing to eat in my home. Nothing. This was when I was in my late teens, man. Nothing. Automatically, something would pop up, an opportunity, or to do something, money would come, you know, or you get invited somewhere and you can get a meal in, you know? So there'll be circumstances like that, you know, growing up, and when I went off on my own, man, and where it's like, there's too many to count, man, the situations where I've been in where I literally have to look up and like just smile. It's like, man, God, that was quick. That was quick delivery, you know? You know? Oh, yeah. So, you know, it's, I don't know, Christ just changes you, man. God and Christ change you, and where you tend to be more, you know, sympathetic, more understanding, even to those who harm you, man.
Yeah.
You know, you're not so quick to, like, you know,
judge them.
Yeah.
I mean, it does help.
Dude, I'm the least judgmental dude on the planet, man. I have love for everybody. You know, you know.
Let me we do have a caller on the line. We've had a couple, but if you guys want to call in, we should be able to take your calls now. We got a caller calling in from Northwest Arkansas. Who are we speaking with?
Hey, Truth, it's Hunter yet again. What's up?
Hunter Hughes, what's up, brother? How are you?
Oh, I'm doing all right. Just chilling here. I'm at work, so.
You at work?
Yeah, I work overnight, so yeah, that's always fun.
Heard that. Yeah, man, you been enjoying the conversation?
It's like I'm sitting here. I've been trying to think of a question to ask. But honestly, I can't think of a question because I'm just sitting here speechless listening to Alonzo's testimony. Very much, I'm just like, oh wow, how have you been able to make it so long? If it was me, I would have left this a long time ago. Just the fact that you've been able to go through all of that and still be here and use that as a testimony and pretty much strengthen yourself in your spiritual walk, I'm just like, wow.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you, man. And I'm sure your walk with Christ is pretty strong too, man. So I've heard you before on the show, so kudos to you too, my friend.
Yeah, this is the first time I've actually listened to you talk, because I've heard of you before, but I've never actually got to hear you talk and hear about your life and all. This is the first time I actually got to speak to you, Alonzo, so it's a privilege. Thank
you, man. Likewise, likewise.
Do you need help while we have you on the phone, Hunter? Because you do hip hop as well, and you're in a similar boat to myself. And Alonzo's helped me with marketing and getting the music out there and stuff like that. Do you have any questions you want to ask him about that? Because that's what he does for a living, man. Do you want to ask him anything about that while we have him?
Nothing I can think of really at the moment right now, but definitely. You got Facebook, right, Alonzo?
Yes, sir. You can find me everywhere, man.
All right, I'll have to look you up then. We can get connected then, because right now I don't have anything, but I'm sure eventually I will have stuff.
Yeah, man. Any question, feel free, brother. I'm always accessible and available.
Right. Well, I do have something I would like to talk to you guys about. Something that interesting that happened to me recently. If you guys don't mind the time.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Yeah.
Okay, so this happened was I started listening to your podcast crews. There's an app out there called Comcast, and so I don't know if you upload yourself or if it's just through everything else, but your podcast show up on there, so I've been listening to that. I listened to the podcast you did with Mars for the first time because I hadn't listened to that one yet. When you talk about the occult, witchcraft, all that,
yeah,
and I just remember I really got into it when we started talking about his different experiences with the demons. And so I just remember, hold up, sorry, I'm having to stretch. I've been stuck on the couch for a while. And so I just remember I was, right as I took the headphones out of my ears as the podcast ended, I started getting this weird I started getting this conscious sense, like there was something around me, but I couldn't see it. Like I felt it was there, but I couldn't see it. And pretty much what I came to the conclusion is by listening to that podcast, because I never really played with the idea of demons much. Like I know, we have our fight with our inner demons, but that's kind of a cliche. That's usually that's Christian cliche for the most part. But I think after that, it opened up my mind, and I was able to, if I'm not mistaken, I actually was able to sense the demons that were around me. It's because I could feel it was strong after that. They were surrounding me. It felt like.
Yeah. Cliches are usually cliche for a reason. They've talked about a lot for a reason. So that should, when you hear that, that's what a meme is. A meme is something that you see over and over again, something reoccurring in your life. Cliches are usually cliches because they have some truth to them.
Yeah, it felt like I had two. It's like I had two conscious eyes in the back of my head, just kind of watching. So I couldn't see them, but it's my conscious is I could.
Yeah.
At the same time, which was weird, and it's
anytime that you're listening to spiritual material, anytime you're even watching spiritual stuff on television, spiritual movies that have a talk about the occult and presence and stuff, it kind of makes that stuff more real in your life and show you areas, almost like if there's something in your life that's hiding, right? It's not like you listened to it and they came to you. It's almost like you have these areas in your life that these spirits or entities or belief systems are hidden away. And when you listen to the material or you read the Bible or spiritual content, it kind of shines light to where they're hiding. And then so they have to kind of run around and move. And so it kind of brings them forth. And you kind of say, oh, wow, there's something there. Like I'm dealing with something similar that Alonzo's dealing with or Derek. And so a lot of times listening to that stuff makes it come forth, man. And so a lot of times it's just God showing you different places that you need to deal with in your own spiritual walk to kind of get to that next level and deal with those spirits, demons, or strongholds that are holding you back in these certain areas and won't let you move forward. It's like Alonzo just said a while ago. He said that most people end up being fathers or being parents just like their parents were. Even that is a generational curse spoken of in the Bible, of these spirits, familiar spirits that are familiar with your family, familiar with your genealogy, and have been with your parents, and now they're with you. And so you have to deal with those things. Like you have to break that curse through the power of Christ. Because if not, if your dad was a drunk, most likely you may be a drunk. You know what I'm saying? And it just happens by default. It does, people don't even spiritualize it. You're just like father, like son. And so we have to deal with those things, man. And that's where the power of Christ comes in, this relationship where he can shine light on them and we see them scattering and we can deal with them, man, one at a time. And so that's a blessing that you've been able to feel that. And going through that process, Hunter, is kind of scary because you didn't know that they were there. You didn't know there was these things around you. I have family members who don't like to deal with that stuff and would rather keep their demons. And they've told me this. They would rather keep their demons because talking about them or trying to get healing from them would just scare them. Like they would rather not talk about it and have a supernatural encounter of a demon approaching them in the middle of the night or something. They're afraid of that.
That's funny that you mentioned that because my mom was a santera. And my grandmother was a santera. So my grandmother used to talk about seeing dead people like it was like me seeing you right now.
Yeah.
It's like regular stuff to her. And, I was one of the cats. I don't believe in that nonsense. I think it's demonic because I've seen it myself, how it works. So I would tell my mother, man, I would take that saint and shatter it right here.
Yeah, because they were praying to saints and stuff. You told me about that.
Don't you touch my saints. My mom had a ritual. I used to see it 10 years old walking out of wherever the heck I was sleeping at that time, walking out of and seeing her in the kitchen where she had this huge saint, and her ritual with the cigars and the stuff, and it was a little creepy, man, for a 9-10-year-old, and but at the end it's all baloney, it's like
it has no real power, man.
Saint Lazarus, throwing quarters at him and smoke and all this stuff. It was just. So I grew up around that too, seeing my grandmother and my mother practice these things,
Yeah, and that was crazy too, because that's kind of funny. He brings up the Mars interview because you were, you know what I'm saying. I mean, you talked about the whole Santeria thing, and that's what Mars was in on, and you were too.
I was. That's why I said that dude Puerto Rican or something, man, because he was like boom, 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 boom. He had it all, man.
Yeah,
he was
that's a great interview.
All the rituals and stuff that they do. Yeah. And it's all mental, man. If you believe in it, that there's a curse on you or someone's doing a hex, of course it's going to fall upon you because you're believing this.
Yeah.
It's nonsense, dude. but the lengths that they go when they do these things or the rituals themselves to the saints, it's just like.
He talked about killing chickens and monkeys and stuff like that, and.
Well, not monkeys, but I seen chickens being killed. There's this whole thing where they do. It's just silliness, man. What they do to people. And at the end of the day, but there is a truth to it, man, because the saints will give you what you want. You'll live lovely for a while, but they'll come to collect. But they're not going to collect what they gave you.
Yeah.
They're coming to collect something else.
More, yeah. Yeah, that's the weird thing about dealing with spirits and demons and entities and stuff. And so we have the one up, but we can go straight to Christ. You know what I'm saying? We go straight to the one who is over. See, that's the whole thing that was powerful about Jesus, because these other spirits, they have to bow to him. Like he holds all authority. They must bow to the feet of King Jesus.
It's funny. I told my mom that. I said, scream Saint Lazarus to a demon.
Yeah, I see what happened.
I said that to my mother.
True.
Oh, she just started screaming. I've always been that way with my mom, and now it's funny, she has none of that no more.
Yeah, you told me you were like the police, man. You would go over there looking.
Oh yeah,
looking through the closets and trying to find if she still has them.
And now she's older. She was like, I don't have them. I break them, man.
Yeah. Well,
smash the idols. Yeah.
Well, the really interesting part about it is since I've been able to sense, now that I can have an idea of sensing demons, it's like I kind of have an idea of like what they're planning. It almost feels like sometimes, because I told you about this, TruthSeekah, but I'll say a short and sweet version for Alonzo was a while back. This was before I started really getting into TruthSeekah and all the stuff that he was talking about and getting into spirituality. I watched it was a documentary about Illuminati in the music industry. One of the things they talked about was a demon called Rain Man. And what this demon's job very much would be was to entice the person to sell their souls to the devil in the music industry. And I had shared with TruthSeekah that one time a person did come to me. The Rain Man did come to me in the form of a human. And I didn't realize at the time until later, but that demon in the end pretty much failed at trying to entice me. And so what I realized after, especially what happened that night when I figured I could sense them now around me, that pretty much Lucifer or Satan or whatever pretty much says, okay, sending them in human form is not going to work, so we're going to mess with his mind. And so that's pretty much like, see, I can sense the demons, but it's like I can't sense when they play games with me. But afterwards, though, like if one of them has touched my mind to put negative thoughts or negativity in my head, after that demon has left, I get this sudden pain in the back of my head, like something was there. Like it's like something was tampered with, pretty much. Because what happened was right after I listened to that Marshall podcast and sensed some demons around me, something happened at work. And for all of a sudden, I felt this huge rush of anger just wash over me, and I got into it with the manager that night. And afterwards, after the smoke had settled and all that, it's like again there was this pain in the back of my head, and someone was like, "Okay, something's not right there." So it's like now I've been trying to prepare myself, because I realized how much I was unprepared for these attacks from Satan and his demons. That I need to start focusing more on my spiritual walk and make sure I can protect myself from stuff like that.
Yeah, that's the whole thing that people don't understand. And I think it's because of Hollywood and because of even like old church paintings and stuff that show you these pictures of these demons or these manifestations of a little monster and stuff like that. Like we think that that's how they look, right? And these entities, these fallen spirits, what they are thought patterns. They are vibrations. We talk about walking in vibrations and feeling. They come in the form of what we call an ungodly belief.
They attack you through your mind, man,
Yeah.
through suggestion. There's sometimes, even in my younger days when I did read the Bible a lot, they would mess up your focus, we you couldn't study.
Dude, we talked yesterday about you hearing this or having this urge to do something.
That's true, and it's been creepy because I'm not that type of cat. I'm like, you know what I mean? So
just sitting around and having an urge, like a negative thought, like it's like an overwhelming. It's not just to have you.
I think when stuff like that comes to your mind, man, it's just talk to God. I don't believe in the word. I don't like using the word prayer. Just talk to God, man, and it'll get you.
Yeah.
Get through it, man. That's
part of like the confession, man. To speak the blessing of God over yourself, to speak truth over yourself, and they'll leave. That's how they flee, man. Because they come as ungodly thought forms about yourself. I'm stupid. I'll never be nobody.
That's something right there, brother, because that's something, when you get negative thoughts like that, at least I've done this with myself because it's just me, you got to be your own, like I've said it before, be your own cheerleader, man. Be your own motivator. Uplift yourself. When you get a negative thought, like I'm not good enough, you'd be like, oh yeah, I'm good enough.
Yeah.
You know,
You
say
can
it
actually
until you
learn.
know.
You can learn the
You know?
voice of the enemy.
It may sound cheesy, but brother, when it's just you, be your own number one fan, man.
You learn the voice of the enemy. So when you hear, like, hold on, I am good enough, and you learn what it sounds like. Will Smith talks about that. He talks about his two keys in life are reading books, because there's nobody who's ever existed who hasn't dealt with a situation that they haven't wrote about it in a book. So reading and reading how other people got through situations, and running. And he says running is so powerful, because if you're on a treadmill and you're running and you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to get in shape, and you hear that voice tell you, all right, let's go ahead and stop. Let's go ahead and stop. Like, that's that fight or flight. Like, hold on, wait. I want to keep going. I got another 10 minutes and I can do it. I can physically do it. No, it's time to stop. Let's get off. You learn that voice of the doubter, and you learn how to quiet it. So when it comes later on in life, you're stupid. You're not meant to have a family. You're not meant to have good things. You shut it up. You silence it.
You gotta laugh at those type of thoughts. Be like, who said who?
Yeah.
You know, like, you know.
That's the power of speaking positive affirmations over your life and knowing who you are. I've got in my bathroom my personal mirror. I stood in the mirror and I took a marker and I seen my silhouette, and I wrote all the way around me where I wouldn't be in the mirror. I wrote the blessings of God. You're more than a conqueror. You are the righteousness of God, created in Christ Jesus to do good works. You are head and not the tail. You are loved. You are this. You are that. And I look at it and I speak those affirmations and see them and speak it over myself.
Yeah, that's true, man.
Yeah, one of the things that I told TruthSeekah this, I don't know if you ever heard me talk about Alonzo, but for the longest time, I was struggling with suicidal thoughts.
Yeah,
and pretty much it came to a time. Yeah, and it came to a time that was almost one, but the crazy thing is, ever since I was able to sense the demons and where the presences around me, I haven't had those thoughts as much. Surprisingly, it's like, and I just realized that the other day. It's like,
you got to reject those.
It's like this.
You got to reject those thoughts with positive. You got to reject those thoughts with positive thoughts, man. You know. So when you have a suicidal thought, or if you're battling depression, man, you got to negate it and replace it with a positive thought about yourself, man. I hear you're a good rapper, man. Just think about that, or think about your family, or replace it with a positive thought, man, to get you through that, because that's not from God, you wanting to harm yourself in any way, man.
Yeah. One of the things that I will do is, like, if I sense there's a dark or negative presence around me that shouldn't be there, it's like when I was first thinking about, like, how would I fight this back, it's like I wasn't sure, like, do I say certain things, or I need to do certain stuff, and I just settled on I say the prayer as I was a kid. I will, in my head, say the Lord's Prayer. And that, to me, that when I say the Lord's Prayer, that's calling God to watch over me and protect me from evil. And after that prayer is done, that negative or dark influence or power is gone.
Yep.
After I finish that Lord's Prayer.
Yep. And it's just like,
and so I find
that's just something for you that creates a place of solace, and it is a positive thought. It is a positive affirmation. And so that's what's so powerful about that. And that's what powerful about symbols and crosses and things like that. Like, people wear crosses, or people hold their Bible and pray over people with it. Like, I compel you by the power of these. Like, there's no power in, like, that physical book or that necklace of the cross or whatever the case is. But when you see those things, or crosses on the walls or symbols, like, there's no power in that symbol, but the power is when you see it, it brings a thought to you, and that's where the power is. And so, people can hear or see the symbol and feel two different type of ways when they see it. It means something different to them. So to go to that place of, like, okay, this is what helps me. This is what brings me solace. I hold up my cross. I say my prayers. I do my rosary for Catholics, you know what I'm saying? Or, the mala beads for, a Hindu, or whatever the case is, that kind of brings you to that place of safety, man,
Mm-hmm.
And it's a spiritual warfare. It's a daily fight. And so for Alonzo to been through everything he's been through over the years and been so advanced in spirituality. We didn't really talk about it, but he's had a lot of angelic encounters and encounters with Christ as well, man. So to be able to go through all that and be upon a mountain and go through the valley and be upon the mountain and be in a good place, but still be tempted by some of the elementary things that should have been gone a long time ago, like thoughts of suicide. Like, you have to admit that, because like we deal with it. I deal with it. Like, we deal with negative thoughts. It's not like we reach a level of ascension and we're good. Like, we're good. No, it's a daily battle.
I think people that have that constant battle of suicidal thoughts, or maybe I should just off myself, it's because they're here for a great purpose.
Exactly.
You know, and that's why I say negate it, man, with a positive thought, or just laugh at it, man.
Yep.
You know, because we're all here to do great things, man. Everyone, no matter what walk of life you are in, you know.
Yeah. That is that.
We're here to leave an impact.
That is the great spiritual warfare that people talk so much about and write books about and teach about. It's all in the mind. It is the battlefield of the mind. It is the thought patterns, forms, and ideas. And it does get deep, though. Like, you can get really esoteric and deep about something so simple.
All that comes from, like, you got to be your own best friend too, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got to, know
who you are, man. You got to know your power and authority, and Christ gives you that in Christ. Like, you have power to actually tread among serpents. You have power to drink deadly poisons. And I heard it said what man is the only creature who does not know who he is. Mm-hmm.
You know,
it's an ever learning thing. You know,
a lion knows he's a lion, but man doesn't know his power. You know, so
that's so true. Well, Hunter,
it's actually pretty.
Go ahead.
I was going to say real quick, it's actually funny that you bring up spiritual warfare. One of the other podcasts I really got into was your podcast about the Zodiac in the Bible with Santos Bonacci. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, that's him.
And so I was just looking up, that's why I started looking up Sagittarius in the Bible. And this is, I don't know how much true this is. Now, this is just based on what the couple episodes I've looked at so far. The few times that the Sagittarius shows up in the Bible was always during times of like great war, of a great war where the physical was spiritual. Was when the Sagittarius showed up during a great spiritual or physical war. So I think it's funny that we talk about spiritual warfare, and I just happen to be Sagittarius.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are different signs that we're born under, and most Christians, they kind of, you know what I'm saying, write that stuff off. But it is powerful, man, because like, you know what I'm saying, the word prophet in the Bible translates to seer. The word seer translates to stargazer. Like, the early prophets, and they didn't have technology. All they had was books, writing, and they had their, you know what I'm saying, their spiritual practice, and they gazed at the stars, man. They read the stars, and even the scriptures talk about that the stars are given to us for signs and seasons and different wonders and stuff. All that stuff's mentioned of in the Bible. We talk about the zodiac.
They're there for a purpose.
Yeah. They're not to, you know what I'm saying, to be worshipped and all that kind of stuff, but they're definitely there essentially as a calendar. If you're a Sagittarius, this is what's going to happen in your life. These energies are going to be around you. You're going to be more irritable. And people who study this stuff, man, they have, like, things work for them. Like, they know when they're going to have a bad day. Not a bad day, but when they're more susceptible to be around people or to be around large crowds, or to focus on their business more, because, you know, these things are lining up for them. And that's totally scriptural. You know what I'm saying? And if you want to look it up, just for those who are listening who have never heard this, but the zodiac is in the Bible under the name Mazzaroth. If you go to a Bible search engine, type in Mazzaroth, and that is what the zodiac is called in there. If you look up the definition, it'll tell you that it's the zodiac. And all the constellations are mentioned in the Bible as well. We never hear that stuff, you know. So if you want to,
it's not taught in your local church,
and it's more Gnostic sounding as well. So all that stuff's mentioned in there. So you could do your own research as well, and just let God blow your mind, opening that whole thing for you, which He did with me. You know, it was awesome. So, well, Hunter, dude, we're coming up on the end of the show, man. Thanks for calling in, brother, and we'll talk with you soon, man.
Thank you, man.
All right, and you're welcome, Alonzo. I'll make sure to hook you up on Facebook here in a bit, so that way we can keep in touch, definitely.
All right, brother. Take care.
All right. Love you both.
Love you, man. Shalom, shalom. Peace.
Likewise.
Yeah, man. Alonzo, man, great episode, dude. We went to some places. There's still many places that we didn't go.
Yeah, we would be here like for 3 hours and we keep talking about my people would be in tears if we went more into my story.
I think it's important to, you know what I'm saying, to know where you came from in order to know where you're going, where you're headed, right? Like if you don't know where you came from, it's almost impossible to know where you're headed. And I know for me, and like sometimes it's easy to forget about it because you're just so caught up in life and time and things are running, you got stuff to do. But we have to remember where we came from to kind of continue to show compassion to people who are still there. Like my heart still goes out to the fatherless. And so does God's, right? Like God, that He's passionate about that. So I think we should be passionate about that. And even more so since we were walking there in a point of our life and we know how it feels to try to identify with the males around us because we don't have that father figure connected. And then we look at rap music. That's why rap music is so popular in the urban community, is that there's so many people without fathers. And so they look at their favorite rapper and they want to be like them. You know what I'm saying? Tupac, Biggie.
Yeah, man, I wanted to be Eazy-E, man, when I was little.
Exactly.
So. There you go.
So that's why people... As
wrong as that music was and the message behind it, man, it's like I said, when I came to the faith, man, I had a box full of cassette tapes back then. Threw them all away, brother.
Yeah.
Threw them all away. I'm like, why am I listening to this?
Many people have to do that because there's a conflict of interest.
Even though I love the talent that all those greats had.
Yeah, the legacy that they had and what they've, like, you know what I'm saying, the mark that they left on music in their life. But we talk about Eazy-E, just him in particular. You showed me some stuff the other day where this dude had stuff straight prayers to Satan on records.
Yeah. People.
It's not hidden. It's like
in that album, the last album he made, the intro.
Yeah.
The intro is basically
talk about him dying and selling his soul and praying to Satan.
I guess he had what he had, so I guess he knew he was going to die. But he was saying the Lord's prayers backwards, and that album sold like 5 million copies because the buzz behind him dying at the time. But people, awful album, by the way. I love Eazy-E, man. God rest his soul, and sympathy out to his family because the man was a visionary. He was just And the weird dichotomy with that man, which I touched on with you, he loved to help others and he loved to help children, which was the oddest thing to me. You could see on YouTube all his Make-A-Wish stuff, and it's weird to someone who rapped this violent music, yet had this side to him where he loved to help others.
Yeah. Yeah, that is the weird thing. You see like different cults and stuff like that in the community, or like the Freemasons or whatever the case is, like helping people and doing.
Yeah, he definitely had to be somewhere within that I don't know if I never heard of it, but that man had a weird. Even you hear interviews of people who worked with him, like the DOC and even Dr. Dre himself, saying that man had a presence, and he was a little wee guy, like about 5 feet tall, but you knew when he was in the room. They would say, So.
Yeah, so I think that's a good place to go ahead and end the interview, man. Dude, thanks for coming on, hanging out, and we're going to have some more talks coming up soon. I want to get you in on some roundtable conversations as well, because we do work very well together. We've done that in the past and had some cool, test runs and trial episodes. We just put up the Freeman episode as well, and you set that whole thing up, and you're in on that with me. So that was a fun with two people.
Yeah, that was
listen to that.
Fun. It was fun all around. All three of us with Leo, you yourself, we had fun, and Leo really went deep in that interview, man. He really had good insight.
I was a little offended that I didn't get to speak much, but he was talking to one of his heroes, and he asked really good questions. So I think he's one of the best guys to ever interview Freeman personally. When I remove myself, like I didn't get to ask Freeman a lot of questions. Because I listened to it yesterday. Great interview.
Yeah, right. Me too.
Great interview.
He did an awesome job interviewing Freeman. He was asking like out of the box stuff too. So looking back at it now, I'm like, yeah, homeboy did a good job.
Yeah, really did.
Everyone was yelling at each other behind the scenes. Much love to Leo, man. There's no hard feelings.
Yeah, that's a good guy, man.
Very good guy.
All right, brother. I will talk with you soon. I'm going to go ahead and end the podcast. Shalom, shalom. Everybody say what's up to Alonzo. Add him on social media and all that good stuff as well. So he's there. Wanted to say just really quickly, like us on iTunes, subscribe to us on iTunes, all that good stuff. Also, we're on pretty much all the podcast stuff now, so we're just getting on all that, and so I'm learning how to do that. So subscribe to us. We are doing weekly shows. I'm trying to do more than one a week, and I've got some awesome guests lined up, man. Really cool stuff. And so this next week's going to be really cool for me with some cool shows of some people that I want to talk to and have been checking out over the years, and they're going to be coming on the show. It's going to be really cool. Also wanted to say, whenever we talked about reading spiritual material and watching spiritual television shows and stuff like that, and that opening up this almost a realm of creativity, but unlocking spiritual giftings within you and being influenced by them, one big book that did that for me was The Final Quest by Rick Joyner. This book, when I was reading that and listening to their music, God was essentially using that book to teach me spiritual warfare. And that book is a prophetic look at going through life as a believer and being able to see in the spirit realm and see what the entities are doing to believers and to people. Like there's, man, it gets deep. It shows paints a picture of these entities that are riding the backs of people, like riding them as a vehicle and flying above them in these different levels and typologies that God showed him in a vision, and he wrote the vision down in a book called The Final Quest. And it talks about some like these winged demons that are flying over them and puking on them and them just loving, and it's all symbolic, but it shows you, man, like a really deep spiritual look. So Rick Joyner's The Final Quest is a book that you need to check out. And I say that to say that we are on audible.com. So you can go look down in the show notes, audibletrial.com/TruthSeekah. You can actually download that book for free if you sign up through our affiliate link, and we get a kickback on anybody who signs up. So you don't even have to spend money. As long as you sign up, we get a kickback on that. And that's really cool because we can promote products like that. Like we talked about Alchemy and The Alchemist. That's another book that changed my life, and it's on there as well. So if you go to audibletrial.com/TruthSeekah, you can download your first book for free, and the link is in the description. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. This was an awesome interview. I love each and every one of you guys, and we will be back with more of the TruthSeekah podcast. Shalom, shalom.
Your way is so much higher than mine, so much higher than mine, so much deeper than mine, so much deeper than mine. Well, that does it for this episode, folks. To hear more episodes of the TruthSeekah podcast, head over to TruthSeekah.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/TruthSeekah.